Hi everyone, good morning and welcome to today's webinar, Cyber Myth Busting. For June, we wanted to focus on the top items that we see for popular cyber concepts, either from existing clients or businesses we've spoke with, for issues they run into or just things that they believe that are true that could actually be hurting their organization. So to kick off today, we are going to have our guest speaker, who is actually our managing partner, Bill Weiser. Derek Geisser will be our moderator as usual, and then myself as the host running things in the background. The agenda for today is going to be 60 minutes. It will go by fast because the information we're going to cover is pretty mind-blowing. So introductions we're in right now. We'll get into the myth busting for 40 minutes, and then the last 15 minutes is reserved for Q&A. There is a chat that you can drop in any questions you have throughout, and if we're able to answer them during it, we'll definitely address them. If not, then we'll get everything answered at the end. And obviously, if you think of anything during the Q&A, we can get it taken care of also. So I'm going to hand it off to Derek now to give an introduction for PGH Networks here.
Thanks, Nicole. And again, as always, I want to just take a quick second to really thank Nicole for putting all of this together. She's the glue that keeps everything in place for these events, right? She really helps put all the content in and kind of keep us on track because Bill and I are, we can be knuckleheads from time to time. But so as you all, for those of you that aren't familiar with us or haven't tuned in before, thank you for joining. My name is Derek Geisser, as Nicole mentioned. I'm the Director of Sales for PGH Networks. A little bit of a background for PGH Networks. We are an IT support company here in Pittsburgh. We focus on helping clients with their IT goals. And basically, we become a client's IT department holistically. So I know just based on some names in the audience that we have a number of existing clients here today, and definitely some people that have been on these events before. So again, I want to thank you for joining. Today should be pretty fun. I'm pretty excited. What I would like to do briefly is just kind of give a quick hello to our managing partner, Bill Weiser, who really needs no introduction, right? So Bill is fantastic at IT support. He's been doing this for a very long time, and he really helps us to kind of keep the ball moving forward technology-wise, looking at what's out there in the market, looking at what the concerns are in the market, looking at what clients are worried about. So I think this should be a very interesting kind of change of pace a little bit, bringing Bill in today, and I think we're gonna have some fun busting some myths on cybersecurity. So that should be a good time. So as we go through these, please feel free. You can ask questions in the chat. We will do our best to answer those questions during the event. And if for some reason we don't get to the question, or the comment until at the end, we will have some time at the end that we can answer any additional questions that anyone might have in the chat. And just before we go today, I would like to point out that this is going to be our last session for a few months. We're going to give everybody a bit of a break between, during the summer months, there's a lot of vacations, things like that. But before we leave, we are going to have a little bit of a fun prize giveaway. So we'll roll the wheel of names and see who gets a cool little prize. So stay tuned on that. So with that being said, let's get started. Okay, Nicole, let's see what our first myth is. All right, we're actually working back to front. So we're going to go with myth number 12. First myth, hackers do not target small businesses. Mr. Bill, what's your thoughts on this?
It actually couldn't be further from the truth. They don't care who you are, what you do. You are a target. So it's a game of gathering data, gathering info. They are on the other end of the computer. They do not care where that info or data is coming from. It is all useful to them in some manner. So whether it's your personal data, your passwords, websites you visited, history, any of that, they will take it, they will exfiltrate it, they will sell it, they will do anything with it. So just because you're small you think that you may not matter. That is couldn't be further from the truth.
Absolutely. I think some of the largest hacks that we've read about in the news or heard about through word of mouth have actually started at the small business level, right, and worked their way up the supply chain. And that seems to really be a big goal of hackers: is how do I take the information I have today, or the access that I have today, and use it to the best, make the most money out of it. How do I profit the best from it? And something like the old Target hack, years ago. That hack happened through a small HVAC company that worked for Target. So basically, it's the person got access to a computer through the HVAC company and worked their way all the way up into Target and stole a bunch of credit card information. So, this stuff happens. It's real life. So every person, every company is at risk, as Bill had mentioned. So, totally agree with you. Let's check on myth number 11. All right, myth number 11. We've never experienced a breach, so our security is strong.
Just because it hasn't happened doesn't mean that it won't. So I've heard this a lot amongst our own clients and amongst some prospective clients. I've even heard the phrase "lightning doesn't strike twice." There's no timer. There's no exhaustion of effort that a hacker will put in. So it doesn't mean that it hasn't happened, and it doesn't mean that it won't happen. Every single day there are new threats, there are new methods. You get kind of numb or kind of used to the current methods, and they switch it up on you, and they're getting you another way that you're not even thinking of. I mean, every day new technology comes out, and they are finding new ways to come after you, get you. So you are not safe. What you were doing yesterday does not protect you or prevent it from happening tomorrow. So you always got to stay vigilant, stay on top of things, and pay attention to the latest recommendations and trends, because it is very important, because you're sitting there thinking, we're protected. We have an IT company. You have PGH Networks. We have all this stuff in place, and then you're at home on your personal Wi-Fi on your cell phone, and something catches you off guard, and they get into your systems and get into your data. So you just have it's just about awareness, and it's not being cocky or comfortable and being kind of blind or numb to what's going on around you.
Absolutely. All very valid points, right? It comes down to understanding that you're never really safe, right? Personal life, professional life, what have you. And I think we'll get into some additional myths, I think, that really focus on some of that content as we go through this. So I think we can call that myth busted. So winner. Let's move on to the next myth. All right, myth number 10. Cyber attacks are glaringly obvious, so we'd immediately know if we were compromised.
This one's almost laughable, at least around here, because you would think so, and some of that is a tactic, right? So you'll get that Amazon gift card in your email, or you'll get that Fandango movie ticket, or whatever you see, and then oh, this is obvious. This is a scam or a spam ad, and it's malicious, and this is bad. Everybody ignore it. Well, there are plenty of other methods that can go undetected. There's new malware out there called fileless malware, and basically you don't even have to download anything. You don't even have to install anything. If you click a link on a website, it can launch JavaScript code. And the second half of this myth is, being aware that something has happened. General hacks go on 1 to 3 months before anything bad happens or that people are made aware of. We used to toss a stat around. The average was like 10 months.
Yeah, it's
It,
like
it
between
was
9 and 10 months is what we're seeing from an average perspective.
so you can have a breach. Somebody can be monitoring and watching your data for almost a year before you ever get a sniff of something something is inappropriate or something happening to it. So they get in and they stay in, and they do this so they can spread their wings and move laterally around the network and gain access to as many devices as they can before they actually launch their full attack. So it's not something that is glaringly obvious. Your computers don't immediately start acting different or seeming weird. It could be very transparent and very silent for quite a long time.
Absolutely. And then, I as we do some of our cyber training for clients, I tell them all the time, like, listen, ransomware, which is the big kind of the big name, right? That's the big attack really that's hit the news so much. That's the one, like, at the end of the day, that everybody knows about because it has such an aggressive effect, right? Because they're encrypting your data and asking you for money back, right? So it's like, oh, I got to know about this attack. But as Bill had mentioned, there's tons of attacks that happen that are just so below the kind of behind the scenes, and all they're doing is they're just sucking data out of your network, and you never even know it's taking place, right? Or maybe you find out too late. Maybe you find out, after it had already happened, whatever the case may be, right? A lot of times, these guys are trying to be slick, they're trying to be silent until they don't want to be, right? So I think we can also agree that this myth is officially busted. Let's go to number 9. All right. This is a fun one. I think this one is I think this one hits home for a lot of people because it generally affects everybody that I talk to. Let's get into it. Complex passwords are enough to keep me safe.
So the gentleman that came up with the 8-character password and supplied it has actually formally apologized, because it was a 1990s sort of idea, and it was 8 characters will keep me safe, and that's more than we will ever need. 8 characters just doesn't cut the mustard anymore. You need to be 10 plus characters on your password. The complexity of it, an exclamation mark, a capital letter, a dollar sign, those are just additional permutations for a computer. It may be harder for a human to read and to remember, but it's just one more millisecond in a automated attack. So the longer the password, the better. It's fine that you remember it. We recommend stringing multiple words together. So 3 to 5 character words, multiple. So 3, 4, sometimes 5 words to get you up to the 12 characters. Makes it very easy for you to remember, and makes it very difficult for a computer to run all the permutations that need to happen to get to that password. Beyond passwords, passwords are definitely not enough. So even when you are comfortable with that longer password, you have to have multi-factor authentication, or what's considered two-factor, that second form of verification. So the code on your cell phone, that text message, that app that's allowing you to approve it. And that's not just a corporate wide thing. That's a personal thing too. So your social media, your personal email, your anything, your personal banking, anything that you can enforce that. Make sure you do enforce it, because I know a lot of people that don't take they don't take their personal email as seriously as their work email. And if you don't enforce multi-factor on your personal email, all they have to do is figure out what your personal email and go to any site that you subscribe to and click forgot password. And if your email password's out there on the web and they get into your email, they use your email as a springboard to get into all these other applications. So it's very important that you don't rely on just passwords, let alone simple passwords. And to add beyond passwords, you have some sort of multi-factor or two-factor enabled on that. And that's the reality of today, is that it's everything. It's not just corporate. It's not just a couple of key accounts. It's everything tied to your name and your email. And the just to add on that before Derek chimes in, don't reuse passwords, because as organizations get breached and those passwords end up on the internet, the more places you use that password, the more susceptible you are for it to being leaked or breached. So here at PGH, we recommend password managers. We can't recommend it enough. It securely stores it for you, and it will generate them for you on the fly, and also remember it and make it easier for you to use.
Hey, Bill, what's your thoughts on letting the browser store your passwords?
And that's a real key point of the password manager. Browsers, even though you believe you're letting Chrome or Firefox or Safari or Brave or name a dozen of the browsers or Chrome flavors that are out there, those browsers are saving your passwords in clear text. Now there's some new news about them stopping to do that with different feature enablement, but every password that's stored in Chrome can be retrieved over the internet without access to your computer, without you typing anything in, and without you doing anything wrong. So those username and passwords can all be exposed if they are stored in Chrome, because they are not encrypted and they are not in a vault whatsoever, despite what it how safe it feels.
I got one more question for you. What we're talking about passwords, and I think we can all agree passwords suck. What about the new kind of craze that everyone's been talking about, single sign-on, right? So that seems to be kind of the big goal of everything is, hey, let's do single sign-on. What are things that we need to be worried about, or things that we didn't add that as a myth, I don't believe today, but I do think there's a concern that, hey, I only have one password. What happens if that password gets stolen, if we're using single sign-on everywhere? What's the concern there? Or is there one?
It's the Coke and Pepsi camp, right? And I mean, you can hear the argument, and single sign-on is huge for us. And from a management perspective, we believe that single sign-on is the future of identity management, right? So we appreciate the central database. We appreciate having one place to manage it, and we're leaning heavily on Microsoft to do that. And we've heard the arguments of, what if Microsoft were to have a problem, or what if it was breached there, or what if it's one password? Well, it's also one account that our organization can enable or disable. When a person leaves our organization, I don't have to remember 32 websites to log into and deactivate that account and disable that account. I'll take my risk that Microsoft is securing it. Their SSO isn't just username and password either. It's username, password, MFA. Microsoft puts a very strong layer of what's considered conditional access, which you can put rules and policies around who can access, from where they can access, from what device they can access. So, I'll definitely take our chances. And I believe having a central database of identity management in an organization, and allowing the end user to have one login that they can remember, one set of MFA that they're used to signing in with, I'll take that any day over the dozens of websites and managing them independently.
Well, I don't know about you guys, but I think that myth has been busted many, many times over on this one. So nice job on that, Bill. I couldn't agree more with everything that you'd mentioned there. I think one of the questions that came up on the chat was, do we recommend a certain password manager application?
We we recommend all of them. So we are a LastPass partner, primarily because they have a MSP program that we are able to resell. We're able to centrally manage, and when you call in help support tickets, we are able to go in and reset accounts and set them back up for you. If you are doing it on your own, or you're doing it separate from your IT company, any one of the big name password managers is going to do the job. The big thing is just to make sure that they've been in existence for a period of time. Some of the bigger players are 1Password, Dashlane, Keeper, KeyPass, Bitwarden. Those are some of the bigger named ones. But anything that's a password vault that's going to encrypt your password and isn't has been around and has any sort of reputation is going to be sufficient.
Awesome. All right, let's go on to the next myth. Myth number 8. Good one. There is no risk using my own device at work. I love this one.
This is I have enough stories around this one that we could blow through the far beyond the hour. So absolutely. I mean, it may seem obvious to certain people. It's definitely not obvious to everybody at every organization. You have a desktop at work, you have a laptop at home, or you need to bring a laptop in to copy some files or do whatever, and you join the corporate network. Well, that device doesn't have the luxury of the corporate device, right? I mean, it's not being monitored, it's not being managed, there's not automated patching, there's not antivirus on it. You would assume that personal email is being used more frequently, which personal email doesn't have the benefit of spam filtering or email security. The list goes on, right? So that device, even if you can confirm you've been the only one to ever touch it and no other family member or children or anything like that has ever used it, plugging it into the network, you're just bringing in an unmarked package, literally, and you don't know what's sitting there because you don't have the same security tools or benefit that you do as your company laptop. And we've actually, in certain scenarios, we've been able to detect that and stop it. We had a real estate company that the week before they got all their computers replaced, a user brought in a home laptop to get some files or get some family photos off of the work computer or what have you. And when she plugged that device in, that device began immediately scanning the network and trying to encrypt. It had malware on it, and it tried to encrypt all the devices. Well, the security software on the corporate devices, we were able to detect that. We were able to shut that device down, but we had small heart palpitations because we were literally 3 or 4 days away from deploying all new computers, and if that would have been successful, it would have been very detrimental in that weekend before. So I think that speaks volumes to how dangerous personal devices actually are. And if you don't have a corporate policy against personal devices on the corporate network, guest network's fine, but on the corporate network, you should definitely develop one and deploy it.
Hey, Bill, question. Somebody says, hey, you know what? I just am not a fan of corporate devices. BYOD, I want to let people choose their own device. We know the concern, but do you think that there's things out there that can help kind of limit the concern or help protect against that type of attack?
There absolutely is, and it's one of those case by case basis, right? So there's a lot of organizations, and I have the privilege of knowing most of you on this call and your environments. So a complete an organization that runs most of their applications in the cloud, you have a lot of options, right? Because you're not tied to that server in your office. Things like SSO and SAML and conditional access and things like that, that'll help those devices. Now, devices that need to talk to an application in the office, you're probably still using that traditional VPN. We're obviously not going to put VPNs on personal devices, so you're going to do some sort of remote desktop or some of the newer ZTNA technologies or things like that. So Fortunately, knowing most of these folks, I don't think we have that challenge with them needing personal devices. But as that comes up and as mobility becomes more of a staple, you will see people shifting more to a cloud focused applications or to the newer technologies, allowing tablets and cell phones and personally owned devices back into those applications.
Yeah, I think the idea that saving money by moving to a BYOD type environment is another myth that we've kind of just busted, right? Because there are a lot of challenges in securing those devices to ensure that there's no threats getting leaked into the organization. I mean, look, spending a little extra money one way or another, right? If you want to go with corporate only devices, there's definitely a cost to that. There's a cost to BYOD devices, but the bigger cost, ultimately, the bigger theoretical cost, and I do want to point out that the industry says it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. I think the average ransom right now on a ransomware attack is something to the tune of about 140 grand. Okay, so if you think about that, it just takes one shot, one hit, right? It doesn't take much. It takes somebody clicking a link or somebody getting hit with a phishing email, and they don't even mean to do it, right? And all of a sudden your servers are encrypted because you're allowing some sort of BYOD device on the network or what have you. That's a much larger spend in comparison to maybe just buying corporate devices. So just think, I guess food for thought a little bit. But I think we can officially also state that there, no risk is a complete myth, and it's now been busted. All right, myth number 7. It's a funny myth. It's a challenging one too. Password protected Wi-Fi networks are secure.
So this is a good one, and this is kind of back to the let's all put our armadillo helmets on, like I like to say. So I think everybody will agree that they know when they go to a coffee shop or when they go to a fast food restaurant or anywhere you're starting to see Wi-Fi pop up, airports, public communities, things like that. I think everybody would, categorize those as, kind of the lowest level Wi-Fi, and you're immediately, at least some of the folks that I've talked to, at least aware that it's free Wi-Fi, and whether there's a password on it or not, that it's um, you know, probably not the safest because there's really no monitoring. There's no additional protection. It's basically a direct wire from the internet, into your device. Not to mention everybody that's joining those networks can scan and see everybody else connected to it. So, but I think what's maybe missed from people's minds, or what is was maybe a little bit less obvious, is where there are passwords, in a hotel conference room, or in the hotel upstairs in your own room, or maybe a protected guest Wi-Fi at a corporation. So you're at company XYZ and you jump on the guest Wi-Fi and they have to give you the password, and you jump on. That's not always protected, and I would say just assume that it's not protected and not safe. And what I mean by that, it's totally safe to jump online and do your presentation, or browse the internet. I would refrain on sending any sensitive data via email. I would refrain from going to any kind of banking websites, healthcare websites, anything that's going to be considered crucial. I would save that for back at home or back on your corporate network, just because you don't know what's on the other end of that line. I can't tell you, the 50 or so businesses that we're part of every single day. Guest Wi-Fi is kind of we have to have it. We're going to give it internet access. We're not, sometimes it's just a separate internet connection that's not monitored and it's plugged in, and we put a password on guest Wi-Fi, and the intended purpose is just so when a vendor or somebody comes in, they have a way to share a presentation or get access to the presentation. It was never designed for them to access a bunch of personal data while doing that. So just I would say be careful if you're not on a frequent connection, or you're not in a place that you frequently use, as others could be joined to that, and you do not necessarily know. And that password, just because you typed it in, doesn't mean that that hasn't been the same password for the last 2 years. So if you've been to that hotel before and you're out by the pool or you're in the parking lot, you could very well be connected to it again without anybody knowing.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to point out too, like, just a little bit of the elephant in the room, if you will, is, we all, at this point in all of our lives, I think everybody owns a smartphone, right? Maybe not everybody, right? But the high majority of most business folks use your hotspot on your cell phone to connect, right? I find that to be probably the most secure way, because you can control the access to it, right? That's all under your control. That would be my recommendation. Now, there are situations, like as Bill had mentioned, where you have to connect the Wi-Fi. You need internet access, right? And in those regards, as he had said, just be cautious on what you do, right? Browsing the internet, things like that, probably not a big deal. But if you start, sending out social security numbers or accessing your financial records, probably not the best approach. Bust. We got to be on bust number 6 at this point. We're just busting things. We're just busting myths left and right. All right, let's go. Here we go. Myth number 6: mainstream websites are safe.
So this is something that most people aren't aware of. So there's probably a dozen to 24 websites that everybody goes to at some point in the week, and they trust it, and everything's hunky dory. The thing that you may not be aware of are a lot of these websites, ESPN.com, the different news websites, they get paid advertisers, and those paid advertisers are not always vetted from end to end, because it's a marketing department, and they are getting ad spend, and ESPN will have a bunch of paid ads that link to non-ESPN websites, or CNN, Fox News, what have you. They will link out to non affiliated websites, and then sometimes it's not even that website that's necessarily malicious. You take that, you expand that out further, and you realize those websites can also have ad spend and marketing dollars linking to yet another third party. So you get 1 or 2 links down the road, and all of a sudden you're in malicious land. So you got to be very cognizant of where you're clicking, what you're clicking on. We all joke around. I'm talking about a new vacuum cleaner, and all of a sudden vacuum cleaner ads are popping up on all over the place. And so that kind of stuff is happening, and you don't necessarily know where that's being fed from, or how you got there. So just be very cognizant on some of that stuff. The other thing I'll point your attention to, and it kind of goes hand in hand with that free Wi-Fi comment from before, is big known websites are the most spoofed. So Amazon.com, Microsoft, Target, Walmart, all the big name websites, those are the ones that the malicious emails will spoof. You'll click a link and you'll believe you're on Target, but there's one extra T in there, and they got their own website developers. They know how to make it look like a Target website. They know how to make the Amazon login box look the same, or the Microsoft login box. That goes back to the 2FA. So if you do happen to struggle and type your password in, 2FA will save you from that scenario. So be very cognizant of, you're visiting those websites a lot, and you click a link, and then it opens up a browser, and everybody's busy. You're what you believe is Amazon or Target or Walmart, and it's really not. So pay attention to that URL, pay attention to the spelling, pay attention to the lock on the left side. That's the encrypted website. That's digitally signed by their certificate. If free Wi-Fi or anything like that is trying to do what's considered man in the middle, where they're trying to redirect you or spoof you, that oftentimes you'll see like a red X, or that lock will be insecure. And I know the lazy way around it all is to click proceed anyway, but our professional recommendation is to never ignore certificate warnings, regardless, unless you are directly connected to a device and you know the situation. Never ignore those certificate warnings, because it very well could be a spoofed website that you're not realizing.
One of the things I've noticed, just to add to that, kind of a cool value add that password managers bring in is when you don't remember any of your passwords and you're basically counting on the password manager to put the username and password in. If you go to a spoofed website and don't realize it, it's never going to put the username and password in. It's only going to put it into the legitimate website, which is kind of like a value add that you never really think about, but I've noticed it over like the last few years of using a password manager. It's like, oh yeah, this isn't the legit website because it's not even the password manager is not recognizing it. So that's another just a quick value blurb on why to use a password manager. It kind of protects you in ways that you don't really think about. All right, myth number 6, goodbye, busted. Let's move on, baby. All right, myth number 5, cyber threats are only external, only.
So this one's very challenging and actually disheartening, but it's very true. Well, the myth is untrue, but it's very true that threats are internal and external. And what we mean by that is not everybody in your organization is always in the best interest fully of the organization, and it can be intentionally sometimes, and it can be unintentionally sometimes, and that can be as simple as giving access to the wrong files and folders, or being too trusting, and cross departments have access to other cross departments' data, and there's really no reason for it. It's just never been audited or never locked down. Or a lot of times we'll see smaller companies that start up, that everybody kind of has access to everything, and then they end up 100 or 200 person company, and the mentality hasn't changed, and somebody gains access to the wrong information, or deletes it, or gets upset and does something malicious. So you very much have to be aware of the internal threat, almost even more so, because all the things that you put in place, all the things that you're worried about that that dark dungeon basement hacker person, with all the websites and all the videos make them out to be. Sometimes that friendly guy that you share coffee with every morning can also be causing issues internally. So what's recommended there is something that we call least privilege. Least privilege access, it kind of goes hand in hand. So every person should have the least amount of privilege needed to do their job, and they should have access to the least amount of things necessary to do their job. It keeps two things from happening. It keeps from the intentional malicious act from happening, and it also the unintentional. So if their account were to get breached, they don't have access to too many things. And a lot of times we see this with what we consider line of business applications. So those are those couple critical applications in your organization. Everybody has them. If they have access to too many things and their account's breached, they can go in and delete records, they can delete customers, they can delete agreements, with whatever it may be, versus them only having access. In our organization, our help desk technicians, their only access is to the tickets. Anything in our database or our clients or our invoices, they're not seeing those. They don't have access to those. So you can kind of relate that, that terminology and that situation into your own business. But a lot of that isn't obvious, and it becomes less obvious the more cloud applications we have, because now the data is not on some server, or they don't have to type in their network password. They log in, and you want to make sure they only have access to the modules and sections that they need to.
Yeah, I think the other one, for those folks that are still doing things like file shares and, or SharePoint or whatnot, I think you also have to be cognizant of making sure that you have the right privileges on all your files and folders as well, right? Just to kind of give them that minimal amount that they need to do their job. Because last thing you need is we don't need, like, our techs don't have any reason to ever have to get into, like, say, an HR file for some reason, right? So why give them access? I think the same thing goes to, I think people can put that into their own mindset as it pertains to their business as well. We're just slicing and dicing these myths, baby. Going to myth number 4. Here we go. We've already invested in security tools, so we're safe.
We, as an MSP, would like to believe that this is true. If anybody realized the amount of tools that we are demoing and paying attention to because of threats that didn't exist a month ago or a year ago, there's never 100%. That's the biggest challenge with security. There's literally no way to achieve 100% safety. So there's a ton of things we can do. There's a ton of best practices you can do. There are tons of software that can be deployed and implemented. 100% is unachievable, and I wish that weren't the case. I wish there was some checkbox that we can all give you a report to say that you are 100% safe. It is untrue. We need us as an IT organization and somewhat of a security organization. We need the help of every individual at your organization to maintain or get anywhere near that, as well as we're auditing and demoing software, and we're changing it constantly because we'll see new threats that the existing software doesn't have a way to identify or to remediate, and we're pivoting these tools to begin to identify and remediate and to get third-party organizations and sometimes involved to help with the monitoring. So keep in mind that I don't want everybody up at night sweating and being so panicked about it, but you can't be you can't sit back and say, oh, we're good, we're 100%, we have all these things in place. You constantly have to audit it, you constantly have to evolve, and you have to adapt because it's changing faster than we even realize.
I think the key to this, right, is one, we don't want you sitting up and worrying about this all night long, because that's what we do. I know Bill constantly is bringing up new concerns. We were just on a call this morning for a new tool that we were looking at, right? I think, though, one thing I do want to point out, you have to break the mindset that we're here to sell you something. That couldn't be further from the truth, right? I think the thing you have to understand is we're here to help you based on the knowledge that we have that you likely don't. The things that we see on a daily basis are shocking, like shocking. I can't stress that enough. So when we come to you and say, this is a fear that we have for your organization, you need to take that like to heart, because we would generally just not come to you and say, look at this neat new tool we got that you should buy because we told you to. It's like, no, we're trying to solve a business challenge that you have, or we're trying to prevent something from happening in the future because we're seeing stuff just like unfolding before our eyes. Right. So keep that in mind if you are working with us as a client, that, these are things that we're talking about on a daily, weekly, monthly basis. And we're looking at new tools, new attacks, new approaches, things like that constantly. And it's scary on our side. Myth number 3, I think we're on. We aren't concerned about a breach because we have good backups. Another fun one.
So backups are important to everything, to recovery from ransomware, to recovery from disaster, whether it's environmental or natural disaster or what have you. Um, that's not a reason not to be concerned about it, because not all breaches are ransomware, not all breaches encrypt your data, not all breaches are there to destroy you. Backups are not there to, be your security blanket or be a way to prevent data, data exfiltration or them stealing records and selling them on the black market. So backups are there specifically to recover a failed server or failed instance, or to really help you from uh, of of ransomware. They are not there to solve every single security challenge and keep you from um, any impending doom. The other thing that I'd like to make everybody else aware of. We kind of get this myth part around the backup situation where, oh, we have backups. Well, we don't have backups forever of everything always. I think any client that were to call in and looking for a file restore or a backup, we do as an MSP, we are backing up your servers and we are maintaining that information for a certain period of time, and we're doing that because our intent is to be able to recover a server or an application. We don't have the means to back it up indefinitely and back up every single thing. So if that is an opinion of yours, or if that is a need of yours, we should definitely talk about that, because sometimes there's a big misconception of what is backed up, for how long it's backed up, and the time that it's going to take to recover one of those backups. If that is information that you don't know or you are unsure of, you should definitely check with us or your IT person or whoever your provider is, just to make sure that you're both on the same page, because it's not an end all be all. It's definitely a part of the equation. It is not the solution to everything.
So what you're saying is, hey, I have a file that was changed 6 months ago. I need to go back and I need to find the previous file that was either changed or deleted. In your mind, you're like, listen, that's not what we're putting backups in place for, right? We're putting backups in place that something fails, that we can get you back up with the most current data, right? The most active and current copy of your data, so that you can continue to do business. If you're looking for something, yeah, like you said, it's got to be a bigger discussion, because what we run into is people that bring that up and they say, well, where's my data from a year ago or 6 months ago that got deleted? It's like, listen, we can do that. And then we start going through the cost, and the cost normally isn't worth, the juice isn't worth the squeeze, if you will, right? So, but I think it's a great point, understanding like what's being backed up and how often and to what length or what term, if you will. Thanks, Bill. Let's go to myth number 2. We're getting down to the nitty gritty here, baby. This might be one of my favorite ones. Cybersecurity is too expensive for my business.
It's very untrue. So the reason why is that there are plenty of affordable solutions. As I said, the 100% is unachievable. 90% is very achievable. 95 costs a lot of money. That's factual. The thing to weigh in is, what does 8 hours of downtime for your organization look like, or 24 hours of downtime look like? Or what if data from your organization was made publicly available or something like that? So what are the costs around that in comparison to the proactiveness around security? So there are plenty of free best practices that you can implement and get yourself to 50-60% overnight without really spending a nickel. And then that 80% 80 to 90%, that is where there's some investment. And part of part of being our client, PGH has made a lot of those investments and and we are providing that as part of your monthly agreement. So a lot of that is in place, and then under our management, we are, maintaining that stuff. But there's definitely always more. There's always additional. If there are certain things that you are unsure of or you are concerned about, we should definitely talk, because there are many ways to increase that and gain comfort level. Uh, one of the things that we recommend a lot of, and we see cyber insurance requiring this, is annual penetration tests. Get with a third party. We have companies that we partner with that we can recommend. You can find one on your own. Get with a company that can do a penetration test. They will scan your internal network, your external network. They will ask a ton of questions to your organization and to ours, and they will come back with a report. And we find that to be super helpful, super comforting to execs that maybe aren't in the day to day or aren't aware of their IT environment, and it keeps us honest as a vendor of yours, and it gets you kind of aware, and it gives us all a health check of how we're doing, and it's a way to keep a pulse on things and stay with the current trend. So it's just something that's a one-time annual charge that can be done by a third party, and it's a good way to do a gap analysis, so to speak, and work together to fill those gaps and get everybody comfortable with where they are on the spectrum.
Well, so like the true salesperson that I am, I'd like to throw a plug out actually for a local company that has actually helped us, and I think a few of you here on the event have currently work with, is if you are interested in penetration tests or you're interested in assistance with compliance, you really do have to look at Schneider Downs. So I think Tim is actually Timothy Wolfgang here is on the call today. He's really helped us both internally as a company. He's helped us with a few webinars, and then also I know he's helped a few of our clients. So if you're looking for a company to assist you, don't have one today, I honestly recommend that you guys get with us. We'll get your contact over. They do a great job. They're local to Pittsburgh, so they're easy to talk to. They're very honest. So I do highly recommend Schneider Downs. There are tons of companies out there to do it, but that's just, from our standpoint, we've had a lot of success, and, we have a lot of clients that really look to them and trust them. So, all right. That was my plug for the day. Thanks, Bill, for that myth bust. Cha-ching. And let's get into the last and final myth, which is this is my favorite. This is easily my favorite myth, right? And I think it's one of the biggest misconceptions. The IT department is the only people in my organization responsible for our organization's cybersecurity.
It's laughable almost, and it's some of you on this call are part of the IT organization within your company, and some of you are within the management team at your organization. I think you're all aware that it's everybody in the organization is a part of this and as a player in this game, right? Because we're only as strong as our weakest link, and if we are not educated or aware of the threats that are around us, I always take it back to I vacation in Florida. You don't see me go in the water in Florida. I look at water, I assume there's an alligator in there. I don't know if there's one or not, but I walk past it could be a puddle in the middle of a parking lot. I'm thinking there's a gator in the middle of it. That's just kind of my awareness of that, whether it's true or untrue. It's very true with cybersecurity, right? So people need to be aware and educated. They lose their laptop, they leave their laptop unattended. They type their passwords in for all these contests. They use their work email to sign up for a bunch of, you start doing some of these irresponsible things because either you're unaware of the danger you don't care about the danger, you're just not educated, maybe up to the current landscape, that can be just as detrimental as having the wrong security software on your computer, if not more. I mean, because you're now a direct path into an organization. So I think education is a huge part of it. We help do webinars like this for organizations. We have recordings. We have awareness training through email filtering and different applications that we can deploy that send test emails, that do surveys, all sorts of things. If you're not using any of that stuff, or you haven't taken us up on doing an internal webinar with your team, either in person or via Teams, reach out to us to do that. I mean, education is gonna help us all. So if you're not talking to your employees every day about some of this, or testing their knowledge on this, they could be just as detrimental to your cybersecurity as doing something incorrectly. So definitely a huge untrue, busted myth. And there are alligators in every body of water in Florida. So anybody in your IT company could be a cyber threat to you.
I think what you're saying is anybody in your company can be an alligator. Is that what you're pointing out, Bill?
That's it. That's it. Yes.
Little arms and what have you. So let's while we're here, let's just call factor. Let's put a fact out there, right? As we go through this, I think the gist of this whole thing is, I think a myth is cybersecurity is unnecessary. Let's turn that bad boy into a fact, right? So cybersecurity is necessary for all businesses, all organizations. And let's just make sure we also point out cybersecurity is necessary in your personal life as well. So as we go through, and if you haven't done any of these cyber trainings, I think we do a pretty good job of making them a little bit easier to digest. They can be, this is a very boring topic, but if you haven't kind of had the chance to go through the cybersecurity trainings that we provide, schedule with your account manager, or if you're maybe a prospect or somebody that doesn't work with us, reach out to our marketing group, and we'll kind of go through some of the contact information here in a second. Let's get it on the books, man, because I think people are enjoy it, and it's shocking what can happen, as we go through this. But so we have about 3 minutes left. If there's any questions out there that we haven't answered kind of throughout the event, speak now or forever hold your peace. No, throw them up in the chat, or you can absolutely feel free to reach out to us if you're a little bit shy, which I know some people are, and you just want to have a one-on-one. So we'll give it a minute or two. While we're doing that, actually, while we're waiting for any type of questions, Nicole, it would be super great if you could do a quick spin of the wheel of names. We don't have a huge audience today, but no worries. It's the summer. Like I said, we're going to take a break, and let's see who might win something and what they might win.
Well, based off the summer break, we wanted to make sure that this prize was going to be fitting for the next few months for you. So let me give it a spin here. And we have Phil Tanner.
Oh, nice. Phil, congratulations. Nicole, what are we giving away today?
It is a JDL waterproof portable Bluetooth speaker.
Oh, nice.
And Phil,
that thing, you can fire that thing in the pool. You can take it on the golf course with you. Those things are great they're fun for everybody. So Phil, we'll reach out to you and get shipping info to get that thing over to you. So congratulations on that. It doesn't look like anybody posted any questions, so that's fantastic. So as I had mentioned, if you do have questions or anything like that, please take a few minutes to reach out to us. You can either call us by phone at 888-7007, which is our main number. Hint, that's also where you can put sport tickets in if any of you guys weren't aware of that. You can reach out to our marketing at PGH Networks. And we will be posting the recording on YouTube. I believe Nicole will be sending the link out to everybody that that has registered for the event. Bill, please make sure you say hi to Kim Hose. Thanks, Sam. You're a great client of ours, and we're always here to support you guys.
Thanks for joining. Thanks for joining, everybody. We appreciate you as clients. We appreciate you joining, taking the time. If you'd like to see anything, or if you have a topic that's important to you, please reach out to that marketing email. We're always looking for new topics. We're always looking for new ideas. We will dive into any topic or subject that's important to you. There's nothing off limits. We would love the feedback. So thank you for your business. Thanks for joining and supporting us. And thanks for listening to me on my soapbox today. I hope you found it informative.
Well, let's make sure we give a special thanks to you, Bill, and also Nicole for putting this all together. I think, as always, rock star, knock it out of the park, and a great giveaway to boot. So everyone, have a good rest of your day, and we'll talk to you soon.
Thanks, everyone.